What if the life you're living right now is being shaped by thoughts you never consciously chose? Not the decisions you make during the day, not the goals you write down, not the promises you make to yourself every Monday morning, but the quiet patterns running underneath it all, the beliefs repeating in the background, the invisible programming that follows you everywhere, even when you don't notice it. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you're not ready? How many opportunities have slipped away because a voice inside whispered, maybe later? How many dreams have been placed on hold, not because they were impossible, but because somewhere deep inside you stopped believing they were meant for you? Most people never question that voice. They hear it so often that it starts sounding like the truth. And that's where everything changes, because the mind is constantly listening, constantly learning, constantly collecting evidence for whatever story it believes. If the story is filled with doubt, it looks for reasons to stay small. If the story is filled with fear, it finds reasons not to move. If the story is built on limitation, it creates a reality that matches it. The frightening part is that this process happens automatically, day after day, year after year, until one morning you wake up and realize you're living inside a life you never intentionally created. But there is something most people never realize. The same mind that learned those limitations can learn something new. The same subconscious patterns that built your current reality can build a different one. And that possibility is more powerful than you think, because deep down, beneath every disappointment, every setback, every moment of self-doubt, there is a version of you that has never stopped believing. A version of you that still remembers what it feels like to dream without fear. A version of you that isn't exhausted from carrying old stories. A version of you that knows you are capable of more, much more. The problem is not that this version doesn't exist. The problem is that it has been buried under years of repetition, years of hearing what you can't do, years of focusing on what went wrong, years of replaying old failures until they felt permanent. But nothing becomes permanent simply because it has existed for a long time. A belief repeated for years is still just a belief, and beliefs can change. Right now, as you listen, something important is happening. You are becoming aware of the thoughts that have been shaping your life from the shadows. Awareness changes everything, because you can never truly transform what you refuse to see. The moment you recognize that your mind has been running old programs, you stop being controlled by them. You begin creating space. Space for new possibilities. Space for new beliefs. Space for a different future. And maybe that's exactly why you're here. Maybe a part of you is tired of carrying the same weight, tired of fighting the same battles, tired of watching the years pass while the life you want feels just out of reach. Maybe a part of you is ready to stop surviving and start becoming. Ready to stop repeating and start creating. Ready to stop questioning your worth and start remembering it. Because the truth is simple. You were never meant to spend your life trapped inside limitations that were handed to you by fear, failure, or other people's opinions. You were meant to grow. You were meant to evolve. You were meant to discover strengths that have been waiting patiently beneath the surface. And those strengths are still there, waiting, not gone, not lost, just waiting for a different message, a different story, a different belief. The person you want to become is not as far away as it seems. That person already exists inside you. Hidden beneath the noise, hidden beneath the doubt, hidden beneath years of conditioning that convinced you to settle for less than you deserve. Tonight, for a moment, allow yourself to imagine something different. Imagine that the limits you've accepted are not the truth. Imagine that your future is not defined by your past. Imagine that the voice inside your head can become your greatest ally instead of your greatest obstacle. Because every transformation begins with a single realization. You are not the old story. You are the one who gets to write the next chapter. The moment you begin to write a new chapter, something unexpected happens. The old story fights back, not because it is stronger, not because it is true, but because it is familiar. Your mind has spent years walking the same mental roads, the same doubts, the same fears, the same explanations for why things never seem to change. Familiarity creates comfort, even when that comfort is keeping you trapped. That is why so many people stay where they are. Not because they love their limitations, because they have learned to live with them. They adapt to disappointment. They adjust to average. They slowly lower their expectations until the life they once dreamed about feels unrealistic. And the most dangerous part is that this process happens so gradually that they barely notice it. One compromise becomes another, one excuse becomes a habit, one missed opportunity becomes a pattern. Then years pass, the person they wanted to become feels like someone they used to know. Do not let that happen to you. Listen carefully. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not just about skill. It is not just about knowledge. It is not just about circumstances. The greatest gap is belief. Because the moment a person genuinely believes something is possible, they begin moving differently. They notice opportunities they once ignored. They take actions they once avoided. They persist through obstacles that would have stopped them before. Everything changes when belief changes. That is why the conversation happening inside your mind matters so much. Every day, your subconscious is collecting evidence. Every thought is a vote. Every belief is a command. Every repeated idea becomes a direction. If you constantly tell yourself that you are behind, your mind searches for proof. If you constantly tell yourself that success belongs to other people, your mind searches for proof. If you constantly tell yourself that nothing ever works out, your mind searches for proof. And eventually, you find exactly what you have been looking for. Not because life is unfair, because your focus shapes your reality. The mind magnifies whatever it repeatedly observes. That is why guarding your inner world is not optional, it is essential, because everything you create externally begins internally. Every achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation, long before the world sees it, it exists as an idea, a belief, a decision, a commitment made in silence. The people who change their lives are not always the most talented, they are not always the smartest. They are often the people who refuse to stop believing before the evidence appears. They keep going when results are invisible. They keep trusting when progress feels slow. They keep showing up when doubt whispers that it is pointless. And eventually reality catches up with their persistence. Think about that. Most people quit because they expect visible results from invisible work. They plant seeds and then dig them up every day to check if they are growing. They abandon the process before the process has a chance to work. But growth does not ask for your permission. Growth happens beneath the surface first. In the quiet moments, in the unseen moments, in the moments when nobody is clapping, nobody is watching, nobody is validating your effort. Those are the moments that define everything, because that is where identity is built, not when success arrives. Before it arrives. The person capable of achieving great things is created long before great things happen. And right now, something is being created inside you, a shift, a realization, a refusal to keep living by the same limitations. You can feel it. The part of you that once accepted less is becoming uncomfortable. The excuses that once felt convincing are losing their power. The fears that once seemed permanent are beginning to look smaller, because deep inside, you know there is more waiting for you. More strength, more courage, more discipline, more confidence, more life. You were not given this one life to spend it doubting your value. You were not given this one chance to shrink yourself to fit old expectations. You were not meant to carry yesterday's fears into tomorrow's opportunities. The world does not need a smaller version of you. Your future does not need a hesitant version of you. The dreams still alive inside you are waiting for the version of you that finally decides to believe. And that decision is more powerful than you realize. Because the day you stop arguing for your limitations is the day your possibilities begin to expand. The day you stop feeding doubt is the day belief starts growing stronger. The day you choose a new story is the day your life starts moving in a new direction. And that direction can change everything. And once your life starts moving in a new direction, there is something you must understand. The old version of you will keep calling your name, not because it wants what is best for you, because it wants what is familiar. There will be days when doubt tries to return, days when progress feels invisible, days when the distance between where you are and where you want to be feels impossible to cross. Those moments matter more than you think, because your future is not decided on the days when everything feels easy. It is decided on the days when quitting feels reasonable. Anyone can believe when results are obvious. Anyone can stay motivated when life is going their way. But the people who transform their lives learn something different. They learn that belief is most powerful when there is no evidence. They learn that commitment matters most when emotions fluctuate. They learn that discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision made over and over again. And every time you make that decision, something changes inside you. You become stronger than the voice that once controlled you. You become greater than the fear that once stopped you. You become more focused than the distractions that once pulled you away from your purpose. That is how transformation happens. Not all at once, not in a dramatic moment, but in the quiet choices nobody sees. The choice to believe instead of doubt. The choice to continue instead of stop. The choice to trust the process instead of demanding immediate proof. Most people underestimate the power of small shifts. They are looking for a life-changing breakthrough while ignoring the life-changing habits that create it. They want a different future while repeating the same patterns. They want extraordinary results from ordinary thinking. But life does not work that way. Your future is being shaped right now by what you focus on, by what you believe, by what you repeatedly tell yourself. Every thought is planting something. Every day is building something. Every moment is becoming something. The question is whether it is building the life you truly want, because time never pauses, it never waits, it never asks if you are ready. The days keep moving, the months keep passing, the years keep collecting. One day, everyone reaches a moment when they look back and ask themselves a difficult question. Did I become who I was capable of becoming, not who others expected, not who circumstances allowed, who I was truly capable of becoming? That question carries weight. Because deep down, you already know what you are capable of. You know there's more inside you. You know there are talents you have not fully used, dreams you have not fully chased, potential you have not fully expressed. That feeling is not random. It is a reminder that your story is not finished, a reminder that your best chapters may still be unwritten, a reminder that there's a version of you waiting on the other side of consistency, belief, and persistence. And that version of you is not asking for perfection. It is asking for commitment. It is asking for courage. It is asking for the willingness to keep moving even when certainty is nowhere to be found. Because certainty comes later. First comes faith. First comes action. First comes the decision to move forward despite the discomfort. Every meaningful achievement begins that way. Every remarkable life begins that way. Every transformation begins that way. With a person deciding that their future deserves more than their excuses, that their dreams deserve more than their fears, that their potential deserves more than their hesitation. Right now, as these words settle deeper into your mind, allow yourself to feel the truth of that. You are not here by accident. You are not listening by accident. Something inside you is searching for growth, searching for change, searching for a reason to believe again, and that reason has been with you all along. It is the strength that kept you going through difficult seasons, the resilience that carried you through disappointment, the part of you that refused to completely give up even when life became heavy. That strength is still here. It has always been here, waiting for you to trust it, waiting for you to stop looking at your limitations and start looking at your possibilities, because possibilities change everything. The moment you begin to see them, your choices change, your actions change, your standards change, your future changes, and one day, sooner than you think, you will look back at this version of yourself and realize something extraordinary. The person who once wondered if change was possible became the person who proved it was. The person who once wondered if change was possible became the person who proved it was. Hold on to that image, not as a fantasy, not as wishful thinking, as a destination, because every great transformation is lived twice, first in the mind, then in reality. Long before the results appear, the identity appears. Long before the achievement arrives, the belief arrives. Long before the world recognizes the change, you recognize it within yourself. That is where everything begins. The truth is, your life is always moving in the direction of your strongest beliefs. If you believe you are limited, you will unconsciously create limits. If you believe you are powerless, you will unconsciously surrender your power. If you believe you are destined for more, you will start searching for ways to make that belief real. Your mind is not a passive observer, it is an active creator. It influences what you notice, what you expect, what you pursue, what you tolerate, and what you become. That is why the words you repeatedly hear matter. That is why the thoughts you repeatedly entertain matter. That is why the stories you repeatedly tell yourself matter, because repetition is powerful. What is repeated becomes familiar. What is familiar becomes believable. What is believable becomes reality. Most people never realize how much of their future is being shaped by what they repeatedly allow into their minds. They guard their possessions, they guard their money, they guard their reputation. Yet they leave the doorway to their mind completely unprotected. They allow doubt to enter, they allow fear to stay, they allow negative stories to build permanent homes inside their thinking. Then they wonder why they feel stuck. But you are becoming aware of something deeper. You are beginning to understand that every belief is a seed. Some seeds grow confidence, some grow courage, some grow discipline, some grow possibility. Others grow fear, others grow hesitation, others grow limitation. The harvest always reflects the seeds, and every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are planting. The question is simple. What are you planting? Because the future version of you is being built right now, not tomorrow. Not someday, right now, in this moment, with every thought you accept, with every belief you reinforce, with every decision you make about who you are. That should excite you, because it means your past does not have the final word. Your mistakes do not have the final word. Your failures do not have the final word. Your fears do not have the final word. The final word belongs to the person you choose to become. And that choice is available every single day. You do not need permission. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need everyone to understand your vision. You only need the courage to keep choosing growth over comfort again and again, even when nobody sees it, even when nobody applauds it, even when progress feels slow, especially then, because those moments reveal who you really are. Anyone can dream. Few people stay committed long enough to become the dream. Anyone can start. Few people continue. When the excitement fades, anyone can believe for a day. Few people believe long enough to change their lives. Be one of those people. Be the person who refuses to negotiate with doubt. Be the person who keeps moving when others stop. Be the person who understands that greatness is not a single action. It is a collection of choices repeated consistently. The version of you that you admire is not created overnight. It is created moment by moment, thought by thought, decision by decision, until one day what once felt impossible becomes normal. What once felt distant becomes familiar. What once felt like a dream becomes your reality. And when that day comes, you will realize something extraordinary. The breakthrough was never a single event. It was the result of countless invisible moments when you chose belief over fear, trust over doubt, growth over comfort. You chose them so many times that they became part of who you are. That is the power of transformation. It starts quietly. It starts internally. But eventually it becomes impossible to ignore. So as your mind absorbs these words, allow them to settle deeper than logic, deeper than temporary emotion. Let them become part of your identity. Let them become part of your story. Let them become part of the future you are creating. Because somewhere ahead, a stronger version of you is waiting. A wiser version, a more confident version, a more disciplined version. A version that no longer questions whether change is possible. A version that wakes up knowing it is, and every belief you strengthen tonight brings that version of you closer. Every moment of trust brings that version closer. Every decision to keep going brings that version closer. Closer than yesterday, closer than you realize, closer than ever before, closer than ever before. And that matters more than you know, because most people spend their entire lives waiting for a sign while completely ignoring the evidence already inside them. They wait for certainty before they move. They wait for confidence before they act. They wait for perfect conditions before they begin. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Opportunities appear and disappear. Time continues its silent march forward. Dreams remain trapped in imagination. Potential remains locked away. Do not make the mistake of believing that your future will arrive on its own. Every meaningful life is built intentionally. Every extraordinary result begins with an ordinary decision repeated consistently. The people who inspire the world are not people who never felt fear. They are people who stopped allowing fear to make their decisions. They understood something powerful. The voice of fear always sounds convincing. It always presents reasons. It always offers excuses. It always points toward comfort. But comfort has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. Comfort convinces people to stay where they are. Comfort persuades people to settle. Comfort whispers that tomorrow will be a better day to start. Then tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And eventually, possibility turns into regret. Never underestimate the cost of postponing the life you know you are capable of creating. Because deep inside, there is a part of you that already knows. It knows where you have been playing small. It knows where you have been holding back. It knows where fear has been disguising itself as logic. That part of you has been waiting patiently, waiting for the moment when your desire for growth becomes stronger than your attachment to the familiar, waiting for the moment when you finally decide that your future deserves your full commitment. That moment can happen right now, not because everything is suddenly clear, not because every obstacle has disappeared, because you no longer need perfect conditions to believe in yourself. You no longer need guarantees to move forward. You no longer need permission to become who you were meant to be. The greatest shift happens when you stop asking whether you can do it and start asking who you need to become. That question changes everything, because success is not something you chase, it is something you grow into. Confidence is not something you find, it is something you build. Strength is not something you wish for, it is something you develop. The person capable of creating a remarkable future is created through remarkable choices made repeatedly. That process is happening even now. Every empowering thought strengthens a new pathway. Every moment of belief reinforces a new identity. Every decision to keep moving forward sends a message to your subconscious. A message that says you are no longer available for the old limitations, no longer available for the old excuses, no longer available for the old version of yourself. That version served its purpose, it got you here, but it cannot take you where you are meant to go. Growth demands evolution, expansion demands change. The next level of your life requires the next level of you. And the beautiful truth is that version already exists within you. It is not something you must create from nothing. It is something you must uncover, layer by layer, belief by belief, decision by decision, until the person staring back at you is no longer defined by fear, doubt, or hesitation, but by purpose, by conviction, by possibility. Imagine waking up and no longer feeling trapped by old stories. Imagine looking at challenges and seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. Imagine carrying a quiet certainty that no setback can destroy. That is not fantasy, that is what happens when belief becomes stronger than doubt. That is what happens when your mind begins working with you instead of against you. That is what happens when you stop reinforcing limitations and start reinforcing potential. Your future is listening. Your subconscious is listening. Every repeated thought is leaving an imprint. Every repeated belief is shaping tomorrow. So choose carefully. Choose thoughts that strengthen you. Choose beliefs that elevate you. Choose a vision that pulls you forward. Because one day you will become the result of what you consistently think, consistently believe, and consistently repeat. Make sure that future version of you inherits courage. Make sure that future version of you inherits confidence. Make sure that future version of you inherits a mindset powerful enough to create the life that once seemed impossible. And as sleep begins to draw closer, let this truth settle deeply into your mind. You are not moving toward limitation, you are moving toward possibility. You are not becoming weaker, you are becoming stronger. You are not standing still, you are transforming.